What a gorgeous day in South Louisiana. Darla real estate agent with Real Broker, servicing all of Louisiana if you are thinking about selling anytime soon, and most specifically South Louisiana and Acadiana if you are thinking about buying. So I'm calling this series Find Out Friday. Today is Friday, and lots of you probably follow my page and know me as a successful realtor in my area. But what I'll tell you is that even though this has nothing directly to do with real estate, it has everything to do with my career and my story. I've thought often about writing a book, because lots of times we see people and we have this belief or this vision or this thought process about who they are. I know lots and lots and lots of times growing up especially, I would see successful people and believe that probably it was handed to them. Probably they grew up in a perfect family. Probably they had lots of good things and lots of good luck happen to them. And it's crazy because not until I got into teaching back in 1998, in my first year teaching, I taught third grade at Morton Petitjean. And I grew up in a very abusive family. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 7. My mom was not an educated person. She was not a happy person. In fact, she was a miserable person. And I absolutely adore her today and love her and forgive her today. But back then, I did not understand how someone can be so mean. But fast forward to me teaching third grade in 1998 at Morton Petitjean, and these children would get to school in the morning and would run to the cafeteria for breakfast because many of them only ate at school and didn't eat at home. And listen, as bad as my childhood and upbringing was, I never had to worry about where a meal was coming from. We always had food. And I remember thinking how lucky I was to grow up the way that I did, because I never had to worry about where my next meal was coming from. Lots of these kids were in abusive situations where they were sexually abused. I thank God never had to deal with that. I was physically abused, mentally abused, but actually the craziest thing is, and I told my mom this just a couple of years ago for the first time, she has severe dementia right now, and so I have to keep telling her every time I get to her house to visit her. She's now 72. She remembers, and she will start crying the minute she sees me, and she will say, "I'm so sorry how mean I was to you growing up." And every time I tell her the same thing, "Mom, I absolutely 1,000,000% forgive you. You knew no better, and when you knew better, you did better." And that's what I will always believe. But if it weren't for her and how mean and vindictive and just cruel she was, I would not be the independent, driven person I am today. And the smartest thing she ever did, she didn't do lots of smart things, but the smartest thing she ever did was every single Sunday, no matter where we lived, because she always had a different boyfriend, she always had a different husband, we always lived in different places. No matter where we lived, she would get in touch with the person that was in charge of the local church and have them pick us up every Sunday for church. And that is the smartest thing she ever did. So we grew up in a loving Christian environment at these churches, surrounded by families. And so I was able to see what a loving family looked like Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And no matter what church we went to, I was able to see those families intact and in love with themselves and in love with their families and in love with their children and in love with God. And thank God for that, because that's a defining moment. That was a very smart thing that she did. Very, very, very seldom did she ever attend church, but she always sent us to church, and that was important. So I was the oldest, and I had a brother who was 2 years younger than me and a sister who was 2 years younger than me. And every Sunday we knew, no matter where we were living, that somebody was picking us up for church. And so I thank God for that every day. But so looking from the outside in, I know lots of you look at me and believe probably, like I used to always believe of successful people, that they probably had an easy route. They probably had an easy life. Listen, I had not an easy life at all. But what it taught me was that life is hard. Life sometimes sucks, but that's life. And if we believe that life is supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be handed to us, there aren't going to be trials and tribulations and hard things to deal with, then life is going to suck for us because we expect that, right? I never grew up expecting that anything was ever going to be handed to me, given to me at all. I always knew that if I wanted to be successful and I wanted to make a life that I loved, I would have to do it myself. And so from a very young age, I decided I was going to live a life exactly the opposite of the life my mom was raising us in. And so I did. And I got married at 21 to a man that I believed was perfect. Very young, very, very, very young. And that marriage is going to be another day. I'm about to get to an area where I do not have very good cell service. T-Mobile is the stupidest decision I ever made. In the country, lots of places I do not have service at all. In fact, lots of times my phone just says SOS. So with AT&T, even though it was way more expensive, I had service most areas. So listen, if you're in the country or any of the rural areas and thinking about switching to T-Mobile, I would say don't do it, because I'm switching probably back to AT&T as soon as I can. Y'all have an amazing, amazing Friday. Remember this, in real estate, there are no stupid questions. Ask all your hard questions. I work equally with buyers and sellers. I love both. I would love to have a conversation with you if you're thinking about it. And if you're thinking about becoming a realtor, get in touch with me. I'd love to have that conversation with you too. The smartest decision I ever made was retiring from the school system 6 years ago and jumping headfirst into real estate. Absolutely one of the smartest decisions I've ever made. Y'all have a great day. Take care.